Hello, everybody. Just thought I would start my night off with. I'm going to have a lot of info about the Utah State mess ups with the parole board and people dying they are because they are not doing their business. They are not doing their business. All right. Oh, darn it. This here is just a start. Hey, hello, Be Still. Thank you for coming. Hopefully more will come in. I'm not going to hold my breath since it's late night and there's still few still alive. Can you hear me okay? I hope so. Well, hopefully more will be in. If you can, share it out, like. Okay, good. I'm glad you can hear me. So let me kind of start off with my little new intro. Well, semi-new, I should say. I don't have any music at the moment, which I do need to add that. Let's see. Oh, that'll put me to sleep. All right. Can you hear the music okay in the background also? I hope so. Hope more show up. Right now, it looks like you're the only one here. Is my music too loud? I hope not. I'm still learning all this as to send it up. You can hear it okay? It's not too loud? I hope not, because it sounds loud to me. All right. Well, I hope more come in. So how are you tonight, Be Still? Oh, good. Good. Because I didn't want it too loud. Excuse me. Due to the fact that I'm going to be playing some videos, some information about my uncle, and some of the stories that I found at the time of his murder. They don't get here soon. I'll go ahead and just start her up and get her going. Yeah, there's 5 families that I know of for sure that are involved in this lawsuit against the Utah justice system because they failed those families. Yeah, there's at least 5 that I know of. I've looked and looked and looked without going to the court system to see exactly if there's been more added. I know that my cousin, she'd be like a second cousin to me. How I'm related to one of the victims is his older brother is my uncle, my great uncle. So I called Farrell Bartchi my Uncle Alvin. I knew him when I was a little girl living up in Idaho. That's where he lived. for a long time down here to West Dallas City area. And then until I got into true crime, law tube and that I went looking, for some Utah cases. And all of a sudden I see this picture of a man that I recognized. I thought, no way, no way, can't be. Just, I didn't want to believe it because I knew that man. I did not know he'd been murdered or that he'd even passed away. The only one I directly mostly knew was my Uncle Dean, his oldest brother. So when I found out that he was my great uncle. He was my mom's direct uncle. My mom's mother and her sister, which would be my mom's aunt, married the oldest boy of the Bartchi family. There was 8 kids. And I knew Farrell as Uncle Alvin. That's what my mom called him. Yeah, he's a great uncle, only by marriage, but he was my great uncle. And I knew him when I was a kid living in Idaho. Yeah, early teens. So with that, good. All right, y'all can come out of the bushes. I see you down there, 5 of you watching. Smash the like while you're at it. And if you don't have notifications or haven't subbed, please sub. And please make sure the notifications are so you happen to like this. Especially those who may know of that, may have a relative that lived there. Lived here in Utah and may have been affected by the ones that Utah parole boards and plea deals and attorneys and judges allowing reduced plea deals. So I'm going to try to get this started off the right way, I hope. Let me see, is it this one? Let's see, yes. All right, let's see. Let me get this up here. Let me drop this one down. All right. Let me bring up a little bit. I started off with my blog, actually. Is what I started off with. All right. All right, let me get that up on stage here. All right. All right, okay, there it goes. All right, now, that music has got to go down a little bit more. That's driving me nuts. That's too damn loud. I really don't need it right now because this is my own blog. All right. This is called The Last Walk. My uncle, Farrell Alvin Bartchi, he was born in July 14, 1939 to October 4th, 2021 is when he was murdered early in the morning. And police got the call at about 7 o'clock in the morning that shots fired and man down. He was on his morning walk. He had no idea who this person was. The guy was visiting his sister in the neighborhood. No clue who, they didn't know each other. If I'm guessing if my uncle Alvin knew, if he knew that family, it was probably him just walking by and maybe waving at him as he walked by him, because he lived close to where he, unfortunately, where he was shot. Anyways, being a family genealogist for my family since 1995, not a certified, but it hit home. He was, he didn't even know he was shot at first. 3 shots is what this guy shot. One of them hit him in the gut. Now, that is according to the autopsy in that report, stating that he was shot at 3 times. One hit him in the gut. Okay. It's a one-man rush toward, looking around to see who shot, not realizing he had been shot at the moment. One man rushes towards him with gun in hand. He collapses on the sidewalk. In a blur noise, people are angrily yelling at someone nearby. A car screams off down the road. Others are near, trying to help him, trying to keep him alive. Now, these people that were telling him, hang in there, was Noel Munez Lopez, also known as Snoopy. He was a gang member. He was drug addict. He was a big time. He got busted for meth, for doing meth while on probation. He just barely got out of prison for shooting another man that paralyzed him for the rest of his life. Okay. They let him out allegedly on good behavior, but his good behavior was not so good. Hey, Stitchin, thank you for coming. So, his sister and her husband, and I guess some other family members, tried to help my uncle until EMS got there. They kept saying, please don't die. Help is coming. Hang in there, sir. Unsure where the shooter was, police approached God cautiously and see an elderly man on the ground with a gunshot wound to the abdomen. Resident to the home tried to explain what happened, who actually shot the man, and the relationship with the residents that they stand in front of. Piecing together information being thrown at them, the EMS rushed to save this elderly man, being my uncle. Silence meets the scene after minutes of life-saving efforts fail. That day silenced a loved husband, father, uncle, and grandfather. That call came in at 7 a.m. That was my great uncle. And right now where I live currently, his past home is only maybe 4 blocks from where I'm at now. And how I came to know of this is December 22nd, 2022. Yeah, because it was about the time Idaho 4, just before Koberger was arrested. I'm going to kind of pause a bit here. Just before Idaho 4, before Brian Koberger was arrested in suspect to what we know now is a very horrific scene in Idaho. Now, that's when I came into the lawsuit side. I'm going to give you a little brief history of me. and how I came to be in and knowing about this case. I followed murder, Emily Baker, went through a few, trials with her. And in the middle of all that, because I was kind of lost as to, after Murdoch trial, that was 6 weeks, I went looking for Utah cases, something closer that I might be able to go to a courthouse and possibly get the records for. At the time I went looking, Googling, that's how I come across a picture of the man who murdered my uncle. Okay. I was in shock. I ain't gonna deny it. I was in shock. Anyways, that's how I came up past that. Now, when I seen his face, first thing I thought of is my Uncle Dean, because he looks just like his oldest brother. And I didn't want to believe that this man I'm seeing was my family member. Distant, but still family. Anyways, yeah, I don't know what exactly happened. I brought him there, but I guess he was there like late the night before and got in an argument, blew out of the house, and unfortunately my uncle was walking by at that time. No, I'm not. I forget exactly how soon, but he was released in March of 2021. His name is Noel Munoz Lopez, aka Snoopy, part of one of the gang members here in Salt Lake City area. He lived in Kearns at the time. He's currently now finally locked up after a 2-year hunt for his ass to get him back into Utah. He found him in Mexico working at a rehab center as a rehab therapist in Mexico. Go figure. Mr. Drug Addict is helping other drug addicts. And it was the U.S. Marshals that found him and brought him back to Utah. Now, what I'll do is I will drop my link to my blog so you guys can. Hey, Corinne, glad you're here. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, I had to kind of squeeze in between. And hope. All right. This is a link to my blog where I actually started my story about my uncle. All right. Come on, load it, dang it. All right. And so if you want to read on about that part, that's just part of it. Let me bring up my other one here that I've got. It's another part of my thing. All right, let me bring it up here. All right. Yeah, I was scrolling through. Now, this is all part of it, of what I was talking about. Called judicial system gone wrong. What did I do? Oh, I forgot to bring it up on stage. Duh. Anyways, this kind of gives you an idea. I believe I even have it in my. I thought I had it in my. Maybe not. Okay. Anyways, I guess I need to mark it, make sure that I have it. Dang it. Or maybe I put it under my law enforcement. Anyways, okay. This section here covers, you know, the deals. I mean, it's not just Utah, it's other states also. It's other states. But I'll add this just in case I didn't put it in. I don't know why it's not showing, but yeah, it was October, I believe, is when I actually posted this. Okay. That just in case it's not in my forward, you know, that's the only thing I can think of. It'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Anyways, 5 families, those who were victims, of those who are released and should never have been, and those who never, and those who unfortunately a family member became a victim of one that Utah's parole board and plea deals and judges' approval and all that, cover-ups by the prisons saying, "Oh yeah, they were good little kids," when in actuality they weren't. Okay, in my opinion, all of them should have to go through be retrained or fired. Even today in Utah alone, okay, even today, judges allowing a reduction in charges, attorneys on both sides wheeling and dealing for that bigger fucking fish. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna kind of just skim over this. No more deals for bigger fish. You finally caught one big fish, but why did it take so long? Labani Federico Figueroa was busted June 21st, 2020. They just finally caught him in August of 2022, along with 50 other people transporting drugs, stolen guns, left. And when he disappeared, he wrecked his pickup and killed one kid in a car. I mean, I call kid, I would say very young adult. Okay, he was in his 20s. He was out of high school. And the other one's severely damaged. Now, I didn't add their names because they're still victims. The one is still a victim and he's still alive. Whether here in Utah, I am not totally sure. But in his car or his pickup, and people begged, the witnesses begged him to please come back and help. And he run off. Yeah. Station, I didn't know. I've always loved true crime. I've always loved watching the investigative channel. But just how deep it went or how close it would be to home, to my heart, I never would have thought it would be that close until I seen my great uncle's face. And I knew that face because he looked just like his oldest brother, my direct uncle. His brother was my direct uncle. And I was living in Salt Lake City, or no, actually in 2020, I was in Denver at that time. In 2021 is when my uncle was murdered. Exactly. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen to us. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen to our neighbors that we might be close to. We don't even really know our neighbors. I mean, unless you lived in the same town and had the same neighbors for years and years and years on end, and usually that only happens like in small towns or maybe in small communities within a city, where you get close. So you just never know. You don't realize how close until it hits you in the face and you see a face you recognize and it happens to be a victim. And he would never have been a victim if the state would have. Yeah, in a way, because the lawsuit is still going on, Stitching. Those lawsuit is still, they're still pushing to get things changed, to get people locked up, back up, stop the drug trafficking and stop waiting for that bigger damn fish. Oh, well, and the bigger fish lived in Magna, Utah. He had connections to California. He had connections to Mexico, Arizona. I don't know if you ever watched, what was the name? It wasn't Cops. It was something else on TV. And they talked about I-15 uh, and the highway patrol. And they used to show, actual pullovers, and drug busts by the highway patrol. Yeah, they've always, for many, 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 many years, have called I-15 Cocaine Alley because a lot of it comes up from from Mexico, through California, uh, into Nevada, across the bottom end of Nevada, into Utah, and up I-15. You see it on. If you watch some of these police shows, even on YouTube, I watch those where the car may act a little suspicious. They got a lot of suitcases, but they have no freaking clue. Hey, Mitten. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I forget what the name of it. Cops has always been, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Yeah, I don't sing very well compared to some out there, but I've always loved that series. I watch it on YouTube at night. That, or I watch Bigfoot. For a cleansing, you might say, of all the drama that's going on right now. With so many people focusing on Sebastian, I didn't want to cover. I didn't want to build my channel on with his name. Not fair to him. It's not fair to It's not fair to both, Katie, Chris, or even Seth. There's enough people out there covering both sides of it. Some trashing, some, red flags. Law enforcement is saying, hey, excuse me, you know, uh, they, anyways, this is just, I hope, Minton Mama, if you're interested, I got a couple blog posts up above you there that I did back in October of 2023 because I was afraid to even, I admit, I was afraid to go live, and especially during that time because there was, going to kind of do a sidebar as Queen calls it. And that is during that time, there was all that upheaval between Queen and three other creators, Grandma Sherry, nobody really knows. I mean, I guess probably a lot more that were in the Discords probably know more about everything that was going on. I wasn't part of it because I can't afford to pay for membership. I wish I could. That's why I'm so glad that YouTube does have the gifting ability. So maybe I might get lucky and get that gift, get it gifted. I wish I could afford it. It's all I can do to do Lyft and possibly get enough rides in one day during the daytime because of my migraines and that. Anyways, so let me bring up that's just one of them. Let me bring up, let's see. All right. Now, if I do this right, bear with me. We don't. I mean, those who are on the outside, I mean, looking in, I mean, I ain't gonna deny I was shocked when I heard, and then of course, in her own words, and of course, unfortunately directed at, you know, being only to me, only showing one side of what took place, you know, in all reality. Uh Now, let me bring up my other one that I was going to. All right, let me. All right, this, I think this. Let me get past the ad here. Come on, skip, damn it. All right, wait. Hold, stupid thing. Gee, let me get you loaded up on my panel. Dang. All right. Now, this, if I remember right, let me look. I think this is dated. Yes, this is the day after my uncle was shot and killed by a man who shouldn't have been on the streets. Come on, load it, dang it. There we go. Let me get it fired up here. Unmute. Let's see. Go. Uh,
13 Newsroom, West Valley City Police are confirming the name of a person of interest in yesterday's fatal shooting.
Now they are asking for help finding this man, Noel.
Can you hear it okay? Oh, so. Okay. All right, let me get her fired back up here. All right.
Munoz Lopez. Again, he is a person of interest, not a suspect in the homicide yesterday morning near 38 South and 4200 West. Police say Lopez was in the area at the time of the shooting and has a known connection to the owners of the home near the shooting.
Well, the victim has also been identified. 82-year-old Farrell Bartchi died at the scene. He had no known connection to Lopez or the homeowners. But if you have any information about Lopez or this shooting, please call the number that's on your screen. It is 801-840-4000. Again, that number one more time for you, 801-840-4000.
All right, let me load up my, let's see, that was person of interest. Now, there isn't any video on this next one, but it kind of gives you a little information. Wait, let me find my other one. I thought I had. Come on. Oh, okay, that one has one. Let's see. Do that. Oh, okay, wow. So, well, I'm learning a lot here. How quick it's. Oh, stop it, you silly thing. Why are you being a butt? Come on. There we go. All right. I was hoping it would come on. Load.
I promise you that I will get you back to your spaceship in no time. We have to figure out how to do it. 3, 2, 1, lift off.
A parole fugitive on the run. Police say he gunned down an elderly man who was just out for a walk in West Valley City last October.
It is a crime that stunned the neighborhood. A defenseless man who was just trying to maintain his weight in his golden years.
Yeah, Chief Investigative Reporter Wendy Holleran is here with some new series 2 News Investigates at large, Utah's Fugitives.
Well, Mark and Heidi, Noel Munoz.
Now this is all right. I need to get back with the program. Okay. Now this here is, let's see, date is for this. Let me zoom out here, bring that back. This was done on April 3rd, updated April 3rd of 2022, and there still was looking for information on my uncle. You know, because he was still running loose until August, or no, June, I think it was, is when they finally caught his ass in Mexico. All right, let me get her started back up here.
Lopez is a violent gang member who served more than a decade in prison on an attempted murder conviction. Paroled March of 2021, October 2021, he was fingered as the primary suspect in this shocking crime. He's on the Metro Gang Unit's 10 Most Wanted list. Tonight, the victim's family and the Metro Gang Unit desperately need your help to find him.
What would you like to say to your dad?
Just that.
This is my. This is my cousin. Oh, come on. That lady is my cousin. Now, she's younger than I am. And I think this was done, let's see, 2 years ago. So yeah, I'm just like maybe a year or 2 years older than she is. This was his daughter, one of his 4 children. And he went on cruises. This is after his first wife, the one I had met years ago, when they went on a cruise together.
Sam, and always miss him. And I'll see him again.
October 4th, just after 7 a.m., 82-year-old Farrell Bartchi was on his morning walk when the unthinkable happened. Gunshots rang out at 7:10. The elderly man's lifeless body laid on the sidewalk right in front of the house where Noel Munoz Lopez was living. Shocked neighbors gathered around.
That day, when you got the news, what ran through your mind?
The words were just not sinking in. It's like, shot? What do you mean shot? Who would shoot my dad? You know?
Bartchi's daughter, Kim Dixon, is distraught.
I had to drive there, and it was just unreal, unbelievable.
Here's what parole records tell us. Lopez was living at his sister's house in the same neighborhood where Bartchi lived.
Yeah.
Lopez and his sister got into a big argument. She told parole agents he left at 3 a.m. and began to send her weird messages.
I don't know that there's really another word to describe how horrific this is, that you just take a human being's life for what appears to be no real reason at all.
He's been on the run ever since. Sergeant Melody Cutler with UPD.
He is one of those individuals that they're constantly trying to find.
Listen closely. This is the voice of Noel Munoz Lopez from a parole hearing right before he was paroled last year. The Serranos gang member describes his gang lifestyle.
I've been a part of the gangs for part of my whole life. I mean, there's family members, there's my whole surroundings growing up. That's what it was. Sometimes I get sucked back into it.
Take a look at the photos of Lopez from his time in state prison. Lopez stands 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighs around 210 pounds. He is bald with a black beard and a mustache. Bartchi's family has added to the reward, which stands at $8,500.
What would you say to Mr. Lopez if he's watching this?
I hate you, and we'll get you. We'll get you.
Now, if you have any information about Noel Munoz Lopez, no matter how inconsequential you think it might be, call the Salt Lake Metro Gang Unit at 385-468-9768 or email a tip to gangtips@updsl.org. You can also find extended coverage about this case on our website at KUTV.com. Wendy Halloran, KUTV 2 News.
Part of a first-of-its-kind lawsuit against an
way to go. Unmute. There we go. I'm sitting there talking to myself. How rude. Anyways, this here is when. Oh, don't do that. This here is when they finally caught the little shit. A young punk that never should have been on the streets, who killed my uncle. Now, let me load this up. All right. Of course.
In other news this evening, a man shot and killed at 82 years old while he was out for his morning walk. Now, 8 months after it happened, his daughter is grateful the accused killer is finally in custody.
Brian Malahi live in West Valley with the story you'll only see here on KUTV 2 News. Painful and still a lot of questions about this from Brian.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard Father's Day this weekend for a local woman. We're in the area of 4200 West, 3800 South in West Valley. This is the place of the killing. The suspect, Noel Munoz Lopez, arrested in Mexico. He has a violent past, and he's coming back to Utah to face charges of killing an elderly husband and father.
He was a great guy, very quiet, very soft-spoken.
Kim Dixon, only child of Farrell Bartchi and his late first wife.
Just a sweet guy.
Still grieving the loss of her dad on a sidewalk.
He went on his walks to keep his weight down.
That's what he was doing that day.
Mm-hmm.
It's something he did every day.
Every day.
2 News investigates reported suspect.
Every morning, my uncle went out and went for walks. Just keep his weight down. All of his siblings and family members were very, I wouldn't call them athletic, but they definitely were more health conscious. Definitely believers in the good Lord above. You know, for being here, he had, I think, if I remember right, 4 grandkids. There's some mention in the obituary that I found. I'm not going to share that because some of those people on that obituary is still alive today. And I really worry about anybody possibly going in trying to contact them to possibly harass. They don't need that. They don't need that. They're in the middle of a lawsuit against the state of Utah, the parole board.
Noel Munoz Lopez was paroled from prison in March 2021. The Board of Pardons says he served years for attempted murder. In August 2021, he tested positive for meth, but was not sent back to lockup. 2 months later, Farrell Bartchi was walking past a home when Lopez is accused of firing.
Why did you do this? Why did you take my dad away?
A daughter traumatized by her father's killing says she will now press for answers from the state on why her dad's accused killer was not back in prison.
They've got to get it together. They've got to, when the parolee violates the parole, they need to send him back to prison.
So I've been in touch today with the Board of Pardons and also the Department of Corrections. The board says it was never notified about that issue with meth, that he had, in fact, had tested positive, used meth. The Department of Corrections says Mr. Lopez had a violation of his parole, so it concedes that there was certainly a violation. And AP&P, it says, responded according to the sentencing guidelines, which included a verbal warning and ongoing treatment in this instance. So there was a verbal warning for Lopez and then more treatment, but he never went back to prison. Still questions. Live in West Valley, Brian Malahi, KUTV 2 News.
So there's kind of an idea of, Utah Parole Board. He had bad actions. His is not the only one. There's 5 other people that's involved. 5 other families. They've been affected by those that the Utah Parole Board did their bigger fish or didn't look into. And in my opinion, and obviously in the lawyer's position, helping these families, they didn't do their damn job. They did not do their job. They didn't follow up. The ankle bracelets on them were supposed to be, they're mapping in that geo fencing, I guess, was supposed to be turned on, and the parole board, their parole agent, never followed through to make sure it was. None of them. On any of these. One family is part of the big lawsuit. The guy burnt their home down, almost burnt 3 elderly people in their home after one of these guys beat on husband and wife. And her father-in-law was down the basement of the home up in Ogden, Lake area, Utah, north of me, about 30 minutes north. They lost their home because our parole board and the parole agents plea deals with judges and reduced charges and not doing their job. We get them, or police do their job and get them locked up, and then our system turns around and spits them back out as if, oh, no big fucking deal. That's wrong. And it's not just Utah. I'm sure there's states all over, all over this country, and probably Canada and all over the world. They'll probably deal with the same shit, just different, in the way it's being presented. It breaks my heart. And this one hit home the most, and that's probably why I'm so adamant, that families that are, we pay them to do their job. Our taxes pay for that little bit of security. August 2022, there was over 50 people busted by the feds with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of fentanyl, coke, marijuana, every kind of heroin you could think of. If I'm not mistaken, it was black tar heroin found in a lot of cars, that they put in suitcases and had people who were so desperate for money that they might drive across the USA and deliver it and hope they don't get caught. And it's all over. Women and children being trafficked. These kind of people did that. These kind of people do that shit for that extra almighty drug money. Let's see. I thought, here we go. This was one of the other that I was going to bring up. Oops. Ding-a-ling. That was dumb. Let me get it pulled up again here. Open a new tab. All right. Now this one. Oh, come on, weather. But yeah, that's where a lot of my passion comes from, is that, it hits home. Are you really going to be this way to me? Come on. Thank you. All right. Let me get this started here, and let me get it shared. All right. Yeah, on stage. All right. This is
and we're here because of a government cover-up. The cover-up was such that corrections leaders threatened their own people.
New at 6 tonight, a major bombshell in a 2 News investigation we have been digging into for more than 2 years. Our team has been investigating the failure of adult probation and parole to properly supervise violent offenders and decisions made by the parole board. We have profiled many cases that ended with deadly outcomes.
Fast forward to today, a new court filing accusing the Department of Corrections, Adult Probation and Parole, and the Board of Pardons and Parole of willful misconduct and even gross negligence.
Chief Investigator
Kathy
has been on this story for years now.
Okay.
Joins us
Thank
with
you,
Area
hon.
Development. Wendy.
Well, Heidi and Jim, that's not all. Attorney Bob Sykes accused APMP of engaging in a cover-up. Dan Blanchard, the director of APMP, and Brian Nielsen, the executive director of UDC, are named individually in the lawsuit, along with the parole board, which alleges they inappropriately released violent offenders and then failed to monitor them, with tragic consequences, violating the victims' constitutional rights.
The cover-up was such that corrections leaders threatened their own people with serious bodily harm, even death. We had a whistleblower, folks. Don't talk.
This gentleman here is the lawyer who is representing. Okay. This lawyer here, Mr. Sykes, he is the lawyer for at least 5 families against the parole boards, against those who are, even involved, the ones that the execs that are not even supposed to be, they're letting shit go. They're letting things through.
Talk to the press. Don't talk to anybody about what we've been doing.
Some talk to me.
Their stories are horrific and frightening.
These are the victim's family members, the parents of a 15-year-old girl walking home from school who was abducted and raped by parolee Creed Lujan and then set free near a bus stop. Linda Nemelka's son.
Along comes someone to carjack her. So, thanks Board of Pardons and thanks APMP for that. We really like not having our mom because, I don't know, I guess you guys looked at JRI and said, violent offenders, let's let them all out so we have room in our tiny new prison.
James Dakota Brunson and Annika Celeste Thorpe charged with her murder. Shandon Scott's mom.
May 1st, that's when my daughter passed. And we spent yesterday at her gravesite.
Terrence Voss charged with her murder. Farrell Bartchi's daughter. Noel Munoz Lopez charged with his murder. The mother of Sandra Robles, who was strangled to death.
Yeah.
Broke my heart because I was like, it's so hard for the family.
This husband and wife survived a home invasion assault. Then their home was set on fire.
We were lucky enough to get out of the house. It's only some physical damage. And my wife with a lot of mental damage.
The 47-page lawsuit alleges violent offenders are inappropriately being released from prison and then are not properly supervised by APMP, calling it gross negligence and willful misconduct by the state. It specifically names APMP Director Dan Blanchard and Brian Nilsson, the Executive Director of the Utah Department of Corrections. The lawsuit puts the onus on the Justice Reinvestment Initiative, which is not designed for violent offenders, and contends the state has released violent offenders who did not qualify for JRI.
The state has known that there's big deficiencies in what they've been doing for years and not done anything to correct it.
The lawsuit also alleges APMP actively sought to conceal and mislead the public about its inability to keep track of parolees. And if those on the inside talked, the consequences would be severe.
If they told what APMP had not been doing or been lying about doing, there would be serious ramifications. Possibly they would never be heard from again.
Even going so far as to say records were altered and destroyed.
Now, I contacted adult probation and parole and the Utah Department of Corrections, both Dan Blanchard and Director Nilsson, directly and requested an on-camera interview. I heard back from Caitlin Felstead. She said she would get me a statement by my deadline, but I did not get that statement. I also asked the parole board for a comment in addition to the governor. Wendy Halloran, KUTV 2 News.
All right, thank you very much, Wendy. So if you'd like to read the lawsuit for yourself in its entirety, we've posted it online along with all of Wendy's past reporting on cases connected to this lawsuit over the past couple of years. You can find all of that right now over at KUTV.com.
Some more information tonight surrounding.
All right, stop showing that one. So, yeah. This is the link that has the families that covers, let me make sure. Let's see. We've got a few links here. Let me see. I think it's this one. Let me load it up here real quick. But yeah, I'm trying to think if it's the link. Nope, that's not the one. I've got a few Channel 2 News things that cover. Let's see. All right, here's another one. This is a parole hearing. Let me load it up here. Let's see. Share. All right. Freaking ads.
Right, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. My name is Micah Bruner. I'm a hearing officer with the Board of Pardons and Parole. I'll be conducting a hearing today. The information you give me at today's hearing is testimony, so I need to put you under oath. If I can have you please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be truthful and accurate?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. Mr. Lopez, did you receive at least 7 days notice of this hearing?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you get your disclosure packet?
Yes, sir, I did.
Was there anything in there you felt needed to be corrected or clarified?
On my, just 2 things, right? On my case action plan, it says, it showed different things that I didn't accomplish. But when I had it printed out in November just to cover my bases because I knew it was going to be coming up soon, I didn't have anything. And I've done all my case action plan from what I understood. But in the packet, there was a couple things that said that I didn't finish. I mean, but they wasn't revised in 2018. So I don't know if they revised it and updated it because I've accomplished everything from substance abuse to education, employment, programming. I've done all that. So I don't know if it was wrong in there in the one that I got, but I have a copy of the white one that I got printed out for myself and all my.
Now, mind you, this man, if you want to call him a man, this was, okay. Oh, Brave browser, okay. I'll have to check that out. Now, if you notice the date, this is when he went for his parole hearing. In March of the same year is when he was released. August, with his parole officer, is when he was busted with meth in his system when they popped a drug test on him. He should have been put back in prison then because he was on a long prison, he was on a long parole, a long dang parole. This is all before my uncle was killed. And he got away with shit. He lied. And a lot of it, the reason why he lied is because they didn't do their due diligence and research to make sure that that shit was done right.
My case action plan was done. That's why some of the programs out in population, they wouldn't give me access because they said either you took the program or you really don't need it. So some of the programs that we were doing in the Okers, they wouldn't necessarily let me attend because I've already either done it or didn't really need it at the time, And also page 114, it says, where it says offenses, number 1 offense is murder, right? And I don't know, I know that makes a big difference with the JRR guideline. So I just want to bring it up. It wasn't murder, but a lot of people have, like I've tried to correct it before in the past. I believe in 2018 when I first went to Gunnison with my.
Now, just so you kind of get a feel of what is going on this is he was in prison for shooting at a man. For some reason or another, they had a issue between each other at a 7-Eleven. And he shot a man. And that man is paralyzed still to this day from the waist, from the chest down. Yeah. He's once, and they let him out in March. He'd already spent just 2 years of his 20 freaking year sentence that should have had him kept locked up. Now, I don't remember the gentleman's name. I did have it. But yeah, this is when he was still in prison at the time, and we're doing the parole hearing was to possibly let him out. They didn't let him out until March. Yep, they did because they screwed up. And that's why, and every one of those other people that you've seen in that previous video, they let him out before it was time for them to be let out. They were violent criminals. Violent criminals. It wasn't just, or because they had some drugs, or maybe because they did a little financial shit. They were violent criminals, gang members, you name it. I mean, the list is just crazy. But that gets, I mean, this guy comes off as being okay. You know, the pro board thinks he's okay. Oh, gee, well, we'll let you out in March. You know, let's get the paperwork done. You know, he didn't complete all the courses. And even then, and they try to say, well, you may not need this, you may not need that. He had a public defender. He didn't have a lawyer, you know, outside lawyer. Although I'm surprised why he didn't, because he had enough goddamn money from all the drugs. You know, his family had a bunch of money from the drugs that he was selling. You know, now I don't know why he was at his sister's. He was living in Kearns, and he staying in, allegedly moved in with his sister, and the family had a big fight with him. Or so it says. Now his sister, Michaela Reveles, by a different father but same mother, they kept changing their story. They kept changing their story as to what happened. I mean, all they gotta do is just say, hey, you know, we got an argument. Well, what was the argument about? Nobody knows, because they will not say. He won't say why. You know, why my uncle? Why her dad? Why Kim's dad? You know, why? They still won't let it, you know, let go. But if you want to listen to this one, this kind of give you an idea of my frustrations. I don't have them in order. I thought I did, but this is also part of the same storyline here. Let me see if I can. But it goes on to the hearing officer says, are you a member of a criminal gang? Honestly, sir, I am, but I'm not active. What's going on with your gang affiliation? Because I've been a part of the gang my whole life. I mean, there's family members, my whole surroundings that's what it is. Sometimes I get sucked back in, but as you said, politically active. Shit. But I'm not, as you said, politically active. I just kind of sit back and let things happen, and I try to push myself away, and I've demonstrated that to all the people in here, my peers as well. I'm still classified as a STG. In other words, he's part of the Sereno gang. I still roam around them. I still eat around them. But that doesn't mean I have to be physically or politically active when they're in the gang. He was one of the top members of the fucking gang. It's not like he didn't know what the hell was going on. You know. And he asked the officer, he was asked by the officer, hearing officer, what gives rise to these write-ups? And his remark was the weapon that they said they found, right? It was in the vent of my cell. Yeah. He had a fucking gun in the prison cell. How did he get it? Probably one of the other jailers. Not to compare, but hello, Seth. And we didn't have no access before we moved in there. He claims he found it. I call bullshit. It didn't have no prior they usually keep a log before you move into a cell. Policy and procedures state that they have to search it. Well, I call bullshit. He had it. It was brought to him illegally. And he got busted for it. Okay. So, anyways, he goes on with his bullshit, excuses. He got in trouble while in prison for refusing a direct order. And that was when he was in Gunnison, Colorado. Because of a Gunnison yard has a walkaway right next to, and I was told says no loitering. See, in prisons, and I'm sure probably other prisoners probably state the same thing. You can't stand by one area of the prison. You got to keep moving. No standing still. No, you got to keep walking. And he disobeyed. Well, let's see here.
I promise you that I will get you back to your spaceship in no time. They have to figure out how to do it. 3, 2, 1, lift off.
Yeah, yeah, right is what I thought too. Come on. Dang it.
Part of a first-of-its-kind lawsuit against an industry that's been given rare immunity regardless of any mistakes it makes.
A local mom says one of those mistakes ruined her life. 2 News investigates. Jake Taylor looks at the fight over vaccine company protections and what this Utah lawsuit could mean for the future.
Vaccines work to immunize you from certain diseases, but some complain the government has
Okay,
given
well,
complete
that ain't what
immunity
I was
from
thinking it was. Damn it. Anyways, the pro board, come on, man. Pro board asked Kim what she would say to Lopez if he's watching this report on TV. She didn't mince words. I hate you, and we'll get you. We'll get you. Now, at this point, he was still out on the dang street. He was known as Snoopy. He was big time. God forbid he ever gets out. I got notifications that when he moves from court to court, I'm notified. If he gets loose, I'm notified. Plain and simple. This is just some of the information. If anybody here in Utah happens to see this guy at all, get a hold of the gang unit. Uh-oh. My neighbor's fire alarm's going off. It's hypersensitive, no big deal, but yeah. I can hear it. I hope you guys can't. Anyways, let me see if I can load this up. If it's gonna be nice to me. There's a parole agreement. Let me see if I can get this to load. It says, I, Lopez. All right. You can bring it down here. All right. Hopefully it's showing to you. Yeah, okay, good. It is. All right. It says, I, Noel Munoz Lopez. Okay. He goes by Noel Lopez. He goes by Munez. He went by, Munoz Lopez. And he's been by many different names. But this is, just some of the parole agreement with Utah that he failed. You know, says I'll comply with my parole agreement and my case action plan. Now, each one of them has a action plan, meaning that they have to abide by certain parole requirements. He can't leave Utah, which he did on many occasions from March until then, until he was finally caught, or when he killed my uncle, and when he was finally caught, he was left of his. Oh dang it! I got the hiccups. He was left of his own accord. No monitoring system to him. He broke all the rules because they didn't monitor him right. He broke rules while he was in prison. They won't flee from the parole. He did. He did not obey all federal, state, and local laws. He was a gang member. He was one of the All right. Hopefully I'm back on. Stupid thing. Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. I even looked at my Wi-Fi and said I had net. I mean, I kind of got doggos going on my TV even though muted. Stupid thing. But that gives you an idea. I've got a couple of pictures. Hopefully it'll behave itself. Let's see. Oh, Let me cancel out briefly. I thought I had it loaded. Let's see. Was something I was going to. All right, let me open this up. Hang in there. Hopefully it don't kick me out again. Can't believe it did that stupid thing. All right. This here is his sister, Michaela, and her husband. As the ones, I don't think they're still living by me, but they were. And they're party gangs. They're all family, like he said, according to the link I have. You know, the videos that I provided still says that. Okay. They did not list that physical address, although I have it, but I'm not going to share it because I don't want them to be harassed. They tried to help my uncle. They tried to help save him. Some of his stuff was some of the remarks that they did was their statements didn't match what they told the police. Their local, when the police showed up to get possible information, find out what the heck, they just didn't, and I don't understand why. The other one I was going to bring up, let's see, stop sharing that. All right, let me find my other one here. I'll show you the charges that I know for a fact that he's up for. Let me close that one. Let me bring this one up. All right. And the stage, hopefully you can see it. These are just some of the charges that he's being charged with. Now, the attempted murder part was for the gentleman that he almost killed. His parole was not going to be done until 2026. The aggravated assaults and that, these are all for what he did to the man before my uncle. He wasn't supposed to get out for 20 years. Minimum. He was not supposed to get out. But he did. They released him. So, we don't have a problem with that. Now, let me see. Get this tab up. I will show you a little bit on. Let me. This is why I'm so passionate about some of the shit that's going on and why, in my mind, all right, what did I do? Oh, website. All right, load it up here. Oh, I thought I put it up on stage. I guess not. All right, that's here. Let me scroll down a bit so you can see it a little better without the ad. This is my uncle. I knew, like I said, I knew his Uncle Alvin. Him and my Uncle Dean were really close. He was the baby, and Uncle Dean was the oldest of 8 kids. Now, let me see if I can do this without bringing in those who are still alive. Hopefully it's all right. Now, I'm going to try to read this. I didn't want to show, family that I'm part of this Find a Grave. And I can say I'm very proud to be part of it. I thought I could make it bigger. Make it bigger here. No, poop. That ain't what I wanted to. What did I do wrong? Why can't I enlarge this? All right, fine. Be that way. Yeah, my name looks funky, but that's me. Mom and Dad didn't know how to spell Michelle, so. He's the youngest of 8. Farrell grew up in a small town in Idaho on the family farm. The Bartchi farm was just outside of Montpelier, Idaho. It had been passed down through generations. And him and his brother and the other brothers took care of it. So it was excellent gardener. Oh my goodness, their gardens. Aunt Shirley used to have the best dang vegetable gardens. Always had the best. I mean, when Mom wanted some good veggies, she would bring up whatever she had to trade for some of their things. And that's how I first met my Uncle Alvin. Was a big time traveler, just a Chicago Cubs fan. Oh yeah, he was definitely a Chicago. If you wanted wars, you might say with the family. No, it kind of works hand in hand. I can get a lot of the information from that. The Find a Grave, I can go out. Let's say you had a family member in my neck of the woods that had passed away, and they were buried at one of the cemeteries near me. Okay. Now you could go and request, like, you go and do a search on your family member, and let's say there isn't a picture of the headstone. Or it needs to be updated. Maybe they did updates, or maybe there's new information. Some of these people who have passed away recently, children and that, because it's new, a new recent passing, they won't show all the information to everybody. We can enter it in as that, but it don't necessarily show to everybody else. But let's say, Stitchin, you had a family member in one of the cemeteries close here, okay? and you needed a picture of the headstone for your family records. And you know he's in over here. You think he's in this cemetery, but you're not sure. What I do is I go and accept that request for photo thing, and I go to the cemetery that you think he's supposed to be at. And I can get the plot and row and that, the row and lane, depending on the cemetery, of how they have them laid out. And I go and take a picture of that. Now, what I usually do is I can do it via my phone. I need to get me an iPad because they take better pictures for like headstones. And I can upload it like right then. Billion Graves is another website like Find a Grave. That you can also find family members and a lot on Find a Grave. Now there they actually have the coordinates. Now I can enter the coordinates on the Find a Grave website, but it if you click on the coordinates, north, south, whatever the coordinates actually is, because I can do it standing over top of it and it'll say, okay, this is the coordinates, and you click add the coordinates. So when anybody else goes to that Billion Graves website and looks up family member and click that coordinates and it shows them exactly where they are in the cemetery. You don't have to hunt. If you've never been there before, you're walking around. If you've never been there before, it'll take you right to the grave site, so you don't have to, search all over or go, and then at the office, the mortuary office is not open, or the sexton, what they call a sexton's office, they're the ones that take care of the cemetery. And if a family member is going to be buried there, you get a hold of the sexton and say, I have, my family has a plot. This person, it's set aside for them. And it already says, in that respect, for family members, you show them the death certificate now, so they're not just putting anybody in the, in a sense in there. And what it does is the coroner will transport them to the mortuary, and then from there, if they are to be cremated, they go in an urn. If they're going to be in a casket, they get put in a casket, and that's usually through arrangements, things like that. And from there, the sexton is the one that keeps the records of where each person is buried. Sometimes there may not be a headstone yet. It might be just a little flag. Like example, Maggie Murdaugh and Paul. Last I seen over there, they just got little markers. They don't have an official headstone yet. So that's one thing that I've always loved about Find a Grave. Right. Well, no, it could be those who have been, if you don't, let's say you're going to enter something into that site, okay? You don't necessarily know where they're going to be buried. Sometimes, until you get the death certificate and there's arrangements made with you and the coroner and, or the autopsy people Usually it goes from there. Once they sign off on that death certificate, that's one of the things that they ask. What cemetery is it going to? Let's say they want to be buried up in Canada. Maybe they have family up in Canada and there's a plot up there for them. The cemetery, the mortuary in that, if they are going to be cremated or not, can then, through your own money or whatever arrangement you have with the mortuary, and the mortuary has, and so on, then they could turn on and they can transport that person up to a sister mortuary that is close to the cemetery that they're going. Whoever is running that cemetery or connected to that cemetery is who is contacted. I mean, it ain't like the old Western days where you put them on a stretcher type thing and pull them behind the horse. I wouldn't mind being done that way. I mean, do it the old-fashioned way, although I think a lot of people would find it very odd. Crazy thought, I know. But it just, I think to those times, and I wonder, what are they up to? What is their problem? All these states, genealogy-wise, I can teach you a lot about genealogy too. I've been doing it since 1995, but then it's getting into, doing, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Trying to avoid that personal aspect, especially for the net. You don't want your business out there. Well, they will be. My mom is in Find a Grave. Okay, I put her information in there, and she's in a niche in Fort Lupton Cemetery, there in Aurora, Colorado, and it says what niche and all that. Now, it could be either way. I mean, the military cemetery, okay, because my dad was Army. He spent his time in the Army. He gets VA, and, that's the VA, as long as you provide a death certificate. Right, exactly. Oh, yeah. You can put your son on it with no problem. I mean, right now it's a lot of it. As long as you know where your son is. I mean, like the cemetery, the cemetery address sometimes. Now, the Find a Grave is getting better about adding those that are outside of the USA. But you can also put that in if it's not in the list. You can add a cemetery in a sense. Aww. That's good. If it's, if they've been cremated and not buried, you can put burial unknown, or cremation, place of resting, okay, a resting place. That would be my only other idea. Let me turn this music off now that I'm out of the videos and trying to behave myself. All right, because that music is driving me nuts. I can only handle so much. I don't mind in the background when I'm watching somebody else, but to have it in my face, yeah, too much. But yeah, being close to you. And yes, I'm sure there's find a grave everywhere. Uh, there's probably a lot of people that are all over the USA or all over the world that put their families, uh, you know, be at the cemetery or like a family plot. That's not part of a quote unquote cemetery. Um, it might be just a family cemetery on a piece of family land. You know, there's a lot of that, even in the olden days. Uh, or if, like with your son, let's say he's not buried, be it, in a urn or in a casket. Let's say he's in an urn, okay, but he's not buried. Let's say he's hanging out within the house. And I've seen it as, to me, that's not gross. That's hanging on until that time in which maybe you want to be buried with him later. That's not unnatural. People kind of get creeped out by it, but I don't anymore since I got into genealogy uh, and family history, things like that. Um, you could just put burial unknown. It's nobody else's business, But you could put all his information like birth date, where he is born, date he was born, uh, where he was, where he was born. You could just put the county. You don't necessarily have to put the town because not every town is like my grandfather, okay, my mom's dad, as an example. A midwife delivered my grandpa. Uh, delivered home. The doctor came to him, to my grandma, his mother, who my great grandmother I adored big time. Now this is the other side of the family, uh, Alvin Bartchi was on my mom's mother's side, and my great grandma that I speak of is on my mother's father's side, for example. Okay. I adored her. I did. I fell to pieces when she passed. Her and I were buddies. Every day I would go and visit her. Every day. And if I lived closer to Montpelier, Idaho, I'd be up at the cemetery and putting flowers on each one of their graves. Because they matter that much. She mattered that much. I didn't really know Grandpa Griff. Yeah. See, there you go. Okay. Yes. You got a beautiful urn. You got a little memorial spot for him. That's all anybody needs to know. You don't have to put him in a cemetery. You can just put burial unknown or not given at this time. I can only assume that probably down the road, it's probably one of those setups where when he passes, put me with him, or put me beside him, that kind of thing. My dad, when he finally does pass, he has a matching urn that'll go in the niche there at the military cemetery there, National Cemetery. It's identical to Mom's. Mother of pearl with gold trim. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It really is. And until we finally buried my mom She was in the house. And I got a picture of her on my refrigerator when she's, a lot younger, but she was probably 50 in the night, about 50-ish years old, if I remember right, because it was a picture when we still lived in Colorado the first time around. Before, and I was living in Washington State with my 2 kids, is when that picture was taken. And then I moved in with them briefly because me and the kids didn't have a place to go, after my ex cracked 3 of my ribs. But long story short, that's where it's at right now as to our judicial system needs to straighten the hell up. There's too many plea deals. There's too many bigger fish. And I wondered about Sebastian's case. I mean, look at the most recent finding in Tennessee. What, 20 kids found? How long did it take them? How long have they been searching, undercover, trying to find out who's involved? Where are we need to find out. We need to get a way to get in there and be a part of it, and maybe get the bigger fish to trust enough so we can bust all those kids out and pray that they're still alive. I'm not sure. I think there was like 20 kids that were found recently in Tennessee. Yeah. Summer Wells. Now, I've heard speculations. I've heard a few people kind of voice their opinions on it because it has been 3 years. What, yesterday? No. Yeah, the 15th was 3 years for Summer Wells. Some people think that their family sold them off for drug, traded her for drugs. I don't know. Grander, whatever her name was, she supposedly went up to Wisconsin, which is where Candace's sister disappeared. That case is still unsolved. Yeah, she's supposed to be out there. People wonder if she isn't, that Summer Wells isn't up there with Grandma. They try to say, oh, the red pickup, blah, blah. Well, that red pickup is still sitting next to the dang bus/camper on the property. They keep thinking it's a separate camper. It's not. That bus was her camper. It was converted into a camper. That bus/camper is still sitting on the property. Every time they show new images of the property, it's still on that property. So Grandis did not take it to Wisconsin or wherever the hell she went. So it was left on the property. Now, from there, seems often funny that Grandis took off shortly after, or right there, really close to when yeah, and we don't know what happened. Candace's mom, or grandmother, well, I guess it'd be grandma to Summer Wells, but they called her Grandis. That's what I keep hearing. Candace, I don't know enough about that case to judge one way or another, but law enforcement must not think that they're guilty. you know, or they would have been locked up by now. Fred Hill is still considered a suspect in her case. Why? Why is he still a suspect in the disappearance of Summer Wells? Makes me wonder. And then, of course, Ziggy, the tarot reader, who was part of MGL's, little fan bunch, and big time doxer, along with Harmony. I don't remember what she went by before. I haven't been around that long to know. But I do know that Harmony did kind of slip up and say that she was part of Molly Golightly's real life doxing crew. Yeah, that's a whole different other story. But it just, there's too many coincidences. There's too many. There's just too many. We got Sebastian gone. We got Clive Harris still gone. Barefoot, basically in his socks, and he was an older, early 20s, 19, 20 years old, disappeared. Then we got Sebastian, same situation, and guess who's got his nose up in it? Makes me wonder just how, and Tony was in Idaho 4 up there trying to get into one of those families' lives. And they basically told him to go piss off. He didn't make it, or he would have scammed them. I don't know. It just, with the reason why I did this is because our justice system in general, I don't know about Tennessee, but it seems like it is busted. You think about a gun hidden in a cell, I don't know how many is in, yeah. Well, there might be less now because there was a bunch found in that most recent bust. Hey, Flava! My goodness, girl. Thank you for stopping by. I was just fixing to end here in a short, but I hope you look at it in a little while. I do a replay, kind of covers my uncle and our Utah system, but this kind of goes, like I was telling Stitch, and it goes, thank you. Trying, yay! This is what I'm guessing Dago's about done and everybody's starting to roll in. Yeah. It's sad. It just it's heart-wrenching, and I don't understand it. Why? Yeah, I've got him on my TV, but I got him muted. That's the lovely thing about my streaming setup with, as part of my rent, is part of my internet is part of my rent, so it don't cost me nearly as much versus going in. It's not separate as part of it. But I worry about Sebastian and Seth. I don't know if he did those kind of things, like the way, some of the bad shit that happens behind bars. We all know And it's a known fact that our own system, the jails and prisons, county jails, are just as dirty as some of the people on the outside. Getting drugs in, getting guns in, things like that. Getting that extra dollar or whatever, getting extra money for commissary, things like that. I'm not saying he did anything wrong, but he did his 6 months probationary period. He had to do 6 months. And in August is when he became an official correction officer, just this last August. So he hadn't had the job that long. What he did before that, I don't know. I don't think anything, to be honest with you. He seems to love games, and it seems that's the only thing he taught his son was playing games. But yeah. Well, and see, nowadays it's not food stamps, it's an EBT card. It's like you got those who, it's probably similar, in that respect. Before, it used to be the old paper food stamp books. Now, no, they're all like on a credit card called the EBT card. And they went and gave, some of his fellow employees allegedly gave up some of their vacation time for him. That's a lot of time earned to be given up. A lot of time earned. And when you work that hard and are doing that, yeah. Yep. Well, I wouldn't doubt it. That, just like cigarettes, if one has more money in their commissary, they could turn around and, well, how about this? I'll trade you some of my commissary money if you let me use your, because nowadays they have like an iPad, I guess. Most prison systems have like an iPad, or even the jails, the county local jail, county jail, prison. Okay, you got so many dang things, and they have their own little like iPad system. That in order for like us to talk to one of them, you had to have that special, like a special link, and it was like you could set up an appointment, schedule like an appointment to talk with them. But usually it was only given out to families. Yeah, you got a certain code. I don't know a lot about that stuff. I mean, I've read about it. I've heard about it through the trials, that I've watched. But outside of that, heck, Murdoch has been trading commissary for time on other people's things, or calls. Be able to do like a 3-way call instead of only a 2-way, like to their lawyer. But he would turn around and through his lawyer be able to go to talk to other people, because however they did it, he got in trouble. Murdoch got in trouble for the same thing and it was illegal. That got you in trouble while you were in prison for changing that. Yeah. But the gun thing, who knows? I say that they search those rooms regularly, and him trying to say that he, and it was unmarked. It was what they would call a clean gun. You're right. I agree. His lawyer should have. And that, as far as I'm concerned, he should. I mean, he should have been locked up with him because he's part of the good old boy bunch. Poot is another. You talk about a shady, dirty, slimy senator for South Carolina? Nah, he needed to go down too. But Jim, oh, slimy. I mean, and I think that's what got me interested in the local laws, and especially when I heard that Utah's own justice system was under fire within the jails and all that. Lawyers, attorneys, whatever, judges making plea deals to that bigger fish, letting people out that had no right to be out on the streets yet. They still had another 15, 20 years. And just there's our justice system all over. When they do show up, when the ones that do come around and bust the ones that are bad, they get them locked up. I mean, those marshals and the state troopers and all of them are putting their life on the line to go and get these scum because they didn't keep them, because the other ones didn't keep them behind bars where they belonged. I don't blame, and our marshals and all that are, in my opinion, are all underpaid for what they go through. Yeah, exactly. Well, the one that killed my uncle, he was out in March for a murder that he only spent 2 years of the 20 he should have. In August, during a parole meeting, they popped a drug test on him, and he had meth in his system. He broke parole. They should have handcuffed his ass and threw his ass back in prison to finish up the 20 or more. Had they done that, my uncle, I think, could still even be alive today. That's how old all the Bartchis lived. They lived to a very old age. I think my Uncle Dean, Alvin's, my Uncle Alvin's oldest brother, he just passed away in 2015, I think. He was the oldest of 8 kids. My Uncle Alvin was the baby of 8 kids. And I think there was one sister, the rest were all boys. And he got busted for, he got in trouble for having meth, but they turned him loose. So basically a slap on the hand. Basically just a slap on the hand. And that's all they did. And they turned him loose. Less than 2 months later, he comes out of his, unfortunately it is, Stitch, and it really is. It really is. And it makes me wonder, here we got the justice system involved in some aspect or another when it comes to Seth. He's corrections officer, the same ones that go and supply, his special. He said that he got along with everybody there. They liked him. Of course they liked him. What kind of stuff did he provide for them that we don't? I mean, I'm guessing. We don't know. I can't, in my opinion, you get that close to the criminals that you're watching over, That tells me there's not many in that room. Okay. Maybe two. It probably is small. I'm gonna guess. Davidson County, where Seth worked, was probably a small jail, but big enough to have a tunnel from the county jailhouse to the courtroom. From what I understand, there was a tunnel that went underneath, so nobody would possibly get hurt, you know, or shot, or the prisoner gets shot at on his way to court, you know, that kind of thing. I still wonder. He says he was in the parking garage a lot. Well, how many cameras are there? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's everywhere, unfortunately. It's not just Utah. And that's probably why it attracted my attention, this case. I kind of put it to the wayside because at the time I was not, it was too close to home, you know, because it's family. Even though it was just my great uncle, it still was family. And great uncle through marriage. But I was close, you know, we were close. Is seeing our catch and release program. Yeah. Runkle, who is a lawyer there in Canada. I forget exactly where he's at. I think he's in Alberta. He's a lawyer there for gun rights, I think it is. He's big time into the guns and as a lawyer there. It's been a while since I watched him. I used to watch him every Friday night with Rob from Law and Lumber. Every Friday night they have a show that they do, and they cover a whole bunch of stuff. You know what's gone on the YouTube streets, or you know the law streets, things like that. But okay, that's what I was thinking. He was, yeah, Runkle of the Bailey. he's a crack up. He is a crack up. Oh, but and beneath, I just wonder, you know, if Utah, because it's close to me and I'm in here in Utah, if ours is so screwed up like this, how can I say the other states aren't just as screwed up, if not worse? It needs to be cleaned up. They need to be protected. These families, innocent people, innocent dang people deserve protection from this. I mean, isn't that why we isn't that why what we pay our taxes for? I mean, at least I don't know what it is for those in Canada. Yeah. Oh, neat. Um, but oh lordy, this our world is just, and I forget. I think it was who said earlier. I think it was in Bruce, maybe it was in Dagos earlier tonight, that it's always been around us. It just, we are seeing it more because we have the internet. So we see it more. It's not that there's more cases or more, you know, bad situations. It's because we see it more, it's being reported on more, and the world sees it faster, quicker than have to look in a newspaper and say, wow, guess what happened over at Joe Blow's house? Yeah. You know that he had, got busted for some drugs? Yeah. But nobody really knows because the law enforcement ain't telling you, but word of mouth is what got it put in the newspaper. And then the newsman, the journalist, would go and say, hey, what's this I hear? I noticed a neighbor of mine, he arrested a neighbor of mine. Can you fill me in? Basically like us, happen to be close to the scene and maybe get a little tidbit of information. That's the way it used to work. Not good movie. They takes us back in time where the radio, newspapers weren't really a thing. The radio was, and that's Good Morning Vietnam. That's one I can relate to because I love Robin Williams. He played an excellent part in that. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I think that some of it also is it's gotten worse. And it seems more, it seems a lot more noticeable in the fact of the mental health crisis going on more so since COVID. That really hurt a lot. I mean, that really messed up a lot of people. And I mean, they may have already had issues, but being locked down like that only made it worse. A family loss, depending on how the person handles it, as to whether they, break down. It really is, Stritton. It is out in the world more. And a lot of these people that they're letting loose, not just, some may have mental issues, some may just have drug issues, some may just have gun issues. It may not be, the drug may not even be a drug. He just has access to guns or so brilliant that their brain is in overload, like those who are bombing shit, making homemade pipe bombs, shit like, they had time to read about it. A good old internet provided that because we were all stuck in our homes doing nothing. Couldn't go and see a family member at the jail, and a lot of them, if you really think about it too, those who are locked up in prisons, are their families really going and seeing them? Saying, hey, it's going to be okay. Even if they did wrong, even if the family member knows they did wrong, um, just going and talking to them, or somebody go and talk to them. I can imagine those who are locked up in. Oh no, I have no idea. And I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. They just did a bust not too long ago, right here in the apartment complex that I live in. 3 people busted with over 20 fentanyl cases on each one of them in an apartment. You're right. You're right. Now, if this prescription, provided by the doctor and it's in your name, I guess it depends on the type, or like pill versus powder kind of situation. I don't know. Utah, unfortunately, if they went with medical marijuana, they can make so much money that can be put back towards the streets. Drug education. Yes. I mean, and fentanyl seems to be the worst. I mean, when people have to watch, when people who are not on those kind of things are carrying around Narcan to possibly save another person's life. It's just it's crazy. Yeah, and it's here too, Stitching. It is. It's that same way here also. The apartment complex I live in, I keep my door in the area where I'm at in the 400 unit complex is on the general, you might say, the safest section. Now, I'm going to let you know, I didn't pick this place. My dad did, and I'm stuck here, unfortunately. I can't afford to move out and get a different place. So I just, as you might say, grin and bear it, keep my shit locked up, and just, I guess, roll with it. I keep to myself. Now the back half of the apartment complex, that's a whole different monster. You know, it's if you see something, say something. Well, it depends on where you live as to whether if you say something, you could end up dead. Now, yeah, you can say something to law enforcement. And if that law enforcement officer happens to be an undercover who could go and snitch out to his buddies, we don't know. That's Blue Bloods is a good series. I love that series. Yeah, and I agree with you there. I do think better to have a small village than a big city because you all can work together. You know what's going on. You're all protecting each other, and if you're all on the same page, the rest of the crap can just stay out. It's like Jason Aldean's song. If it was really true for some of these other small towns, that song, try this in a small town. In other words, you ain't gonna get away with that shit because somebody around here is gonna take care of business. And it's usually the little town. And people took it so hard. Oh my God. Flipping out over that, over that song. Saying, give me a break. It's true. Small towns don't get hit by, don't have nearly, I mean, if they have drug shit going on, it is so minute and so secret versus big cities. Big cities, those bad people can hide among the rest of us. Look at Rex Sherman, New York City. Yeah, you got all of the little cities within, New York City area, Staten Island, all of that, hiding in plain sight. Nobody would even think the only thing that made example Rex noticeable is him and his brother both are tall, gangly, orc like people. Yeah. But anyways, y'all, I think I'm gonna go ahead and close out for tonight. Thank you so much for coming. Hopefully for those who didn't get a chance to be here and listen and watch, please like and watch the replay, and I hope you like it. It's okay, Brian. I mean, I understand. It's late at night and trying to catch in between everybody else. I was going to go earlier, and as soon as I thought about it, boom, everybody else decided to go. Okay, definitely. Yeah. Please make sure your notifications are all the way on, not just half, because I know it's once in a while. And sometimes YouTube will kick it down to, only personal or not. Oh, I would love to. I would, Stitchin. I would enjoy that. I would enjoy that a lot. With that, my dearies, let me get this. All right, let me get. Oh, I wanted to show you, for those who hadn't been around, one of my new favorites, which I'm gonna work on making it prettier, is this. Let me loop that, see if it'll do. Come on, loading it. There we go. That's one of the new ones that I found, and I got that from what? Dang it, I forget where I got it from. But it was a free site. It was a free site. But I got that. And I seen that and I instantly fell in love with it. And now I just gotta I was thinking about doing, I was trying to think of what I could use for a background for it, or just keep it. And if you notice, it gets brighter and brighter here. It's supposed to be like like a solar eclipse. And the ring, how in the end the ring shows up. Yeah. But I fell in love with that. That's the prettiest dang thing. I was surprised I was able to, since I didn't upgrade my, yeah, I didn't upgrade this yet. So that was one thing that, so anyways, y'all, love y'all. Thank you for coming. Don't forget to smash the like. And hope to see you out on the thing.